So the leadership attempts to reinstate the plantation economy, right? Because they had reinstated the plantation economy after they beat the French the first time, right? And then Toussaint controls the island for like 4 or 5 years. So while Toussaint's controlling the island, they brought back the plantation economy. And folks were upset, right? The masses of people were upset about this. They tried to bring it back again after the revolution, right? And it fails because people are like running away. No, we're not doing this. They're going to the hills. No, right? We're not doing this. And what they create is something called the LAKOU system. LAKOU literally means, quote unquote, backyard, right? Like a backyard. But the LAKOU system actually represents a system of interrelated family groups, right? Sometimes it's one major family and a couple other families. Sometimes it's one major families and extensions of those families, okay? And it's the basis of the economic development of Haiti after the revolution. It's not the plantation economy. So characteristics of the LAKOU system. It's multi-generational. Children are raised by parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, aunts and uncles, right? Katha Wakatha means that's et cetera, right? So that's KWK, that means et cetera. All right, so this is important. This is really important. In our current, this is a big lesson for us here. In our current family systems, you can barely say that children are raised by parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, aunts and uncles, because everybody's separated. Everybody has their own home. Everybody has their own apartment, right? So that's a problem, right? But this is a big lesson for us to learn, right? That in order for, we talk about nation building, we got to talk about this LAKOU system. We talk about the Haitian Revolution so much. There's all these books written on the Haitian Revolution. There's barely books written. I don't even know there's one book written on the LAKOU system, at least in English. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure in Creole there's probably a book or two, or French, right? But in English, is books after book about the Haitian Revolution, nothing about the LAKOU system, right? And when I'm not talking about like a chapter in a book. I'm talking about a book dedicated to LAKOU system. It's very hard to find, okay? So, but this is, I think, is one of the most important things about Haiti. I think this rivals the revolution, but it's not sexy, right? It doesn't have, if you talk about the LAKOU system, you're not seeing this picture. If you talk about the LAKOU system, you're seeing family, right? That's what you're seeing. You're seeing community, but you're not seeing this. This is exciting, right? This gets your blood up. This gets you angry, upset, ready to fight. Gets you your ire. Gets you your blood up. The LAKOU system does not, but it should. This should be sexier than the Haitian Revolution, if not as sexy. All right. The LAKOUs were self-governing. Traditional education occurred within the LAKOU. And this is important. When I say traditional education, I don't mean the European education, because a lot of times we talk about we need a better education system in Haiti. But that education system people are talking about is a European education system. It's basically an education system to teach you how to pillage the earth, right? We don't need that. So the LAKOU system taught, in the LAKOU, you're taught about the herbs. You're taught about the social structure, right? You're taught about hunting, right? You're taught about the cycles in nature. All of this is in the LAKOU system, right? It's a barter system. They're not trading money, right? People are getting together to build somebody's house. People are getting together to plant, to harvest, right? And at the same time, too, they are also planting to sell to the main city for export outside the country. So the LAKOU system also creates a lot of the export economy also simultaneously. Voodoo serves as a base of morality and maintenance of social order in the LAKOU, combined with the elders, right? So voodoo is a sense of morality, all right? Now I'm talking about the early, after the revolution, the first 40, 50 years, right? This is important because the first 40 or 50 years, Catholicism is not strong in Haiti because there's an embargo that the US puts on Haiti. Nobody wants to trade, right? Same thing as that's happening today with Cuba, right? So Haiti is able to trade with some countries that are not honoring the US embargo, right? So anyway, let's continue. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. All right. Each LAKOU has a specific way to work with their loi. And I put it here, badly translated as deities, right? So lois are not deities because deities is a Western understanding, like, okay, like Thor, right? Is a deity, right? You know, whatever you call these, I don't know, these gods that these guys have, right? I don't know the names of them, right? Except for Thor, because I watched some Marvel movies, right? You have Thor, right? So, but that's their deities. For us, it's not deity. The loi is not a deity. Loi is an aspect, a spiritual aspect of the universe, a spiritual aspect of nature that you can communicate with. This is different than a deity because a loi being a spiritual aspect of nature, a spiritual aspect of the universe, gives you a different thing in your mind in terms of how you relate to that thing, right? So each loi, each LAKOU has a different way to integrate these lois. So some of the big lois are Ogun, right? Which is in Nigeria, it's Ogun. In Benin, it's Ogun. In Haiti, it's Ogun, right? It's the same. In Ghana, it's Adadi Kofi, right? However, even though they each do it differently, there's still unison. There's still unity in terms of how, in general, Ezidanto is going to behave the same way in all the LAKOUs, right? In general, Ogu, with the different variations of Ogu, there's a whole bunch of different Ogus. There's a whole bunch of different Ezilis also. There's Ezili Danto, Ezili Rouge, Ezili Bayan, Grand Ezili, and so forth. There's a whole bunch of different Ezilis, but they behave generally the same, but at the same time, they're different in each LAKOU. And this is important because this is what I mentioned before. How did we combat this hero complex, right? We had this multiplicity of lois, right? So a decentralized system. So the LAKOU system is decentralized, right? So this is key. It being decentralized means you can't find the head of this thing, right? But at the same time, it's unified, right? When we always think of, we have to find one leader and unify around that one leader and so forth, right? So part of the lessons that we have to learn is the LAKOU system and how we can implement something similar in whatever we find ourselves. All right, almost down to the end before we get to question and answer. All right, lessons for us. State level leadership without direct accountability from the people cannot be trusted. State level leadership without direct accountability from the people cannot be trusted. Meaning that if there's some leadership that's at the state level, if you cannot, the people cannot walk into that office and remove, literally walk in. I don't mean like vote. I mean literally walk in, slap them upside the head.
All right, interesting video. I'll grab the link and put it in the chat for those who are interested. I'll pause the video so that we could focus on this characteristics of the LAKOU system, which is very interesting. Before we talk about it though, let's welcome in our boy Confidence this week? Confidence, how are you? I guess confidence is not there.
I'm all right. I'm okay. Thank you.
All right, good. Thanks for joining us tonight. You're familiar with this system. What are your thoughts on what was just discussed here?
I'm actually learning a lot of details that I didn't know specifically, but I know that in general it's something called the courtyard, and it's basically a meeting, it's a meeting center, because in Haiti, I guess the villages, it's more like a village structure where the houses are lined up in a circle and you can meet in the center. Something like that. It's just like a meeting center, and it's based on the housing structure where people can meet, like the elders or the people, the leadership. So it's a way to govern yourself based on your neighborhood, basically. I think that's a lesson that we could all use, and I think that's part of the Garvey movement, where Garvey took from Africa and from Haiti and from the Caribbean. It's not something he invented, but it's like borrowing from the past to bring it to the future, the Sankofa. So I'm very interested in this going forward, and and I'm actually in the process of like starting a UNIA branch in Jacksonville, working with Atlanta now, which wasn't the past case. So things are looking good, and so I'm interested in this LAKOU system, and it's I wanted to say, I found out today Miami has 100 consulate generals, basically embassies. So if there's a good program, you don't have to contact CARICOM. People could go to Miami and export a program. So that's what I'm looking at. So I'm just tuning in and seeing what I can learn. So peace to the family.
All right, thank you for that confidence. Buana, you see the characteristics up there. You heard the discussion. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, Koku, I am big on systems. Okay, I have no problem with systems. The LAKOU system is something that is unfamiliar to me. This was really the first time I actually even heard about it. But where the guy says that he doesn't see the application of the LAKOU system in certain communities, my answer to that is, whenever you see the problem, the reality, whenever you see a definable problem, the reality is somewhere in the back of your mind, there is a solution to that problem. And since there's so many people are unfamiliar with it, the task is you becoming very proficient at the system itself, and create a narrative where people could access it, whether through you writing a book on the idea of the LAKOU system, or whether you going into different institutions and teaching people who look like you about the LAKOU system, where they can apply it in their daily lives. Because since I am unfamiliar with it, doesn't mean many people could be introduced to it. And since this is something that he is very interested in, or he is proficient in, he could go into different schools or any kind of organizations or institutions, and try to inform people about the system, and then show people how the system is applicable in their daily lives. Because when you talk about going back, reaching back into the past, right, and pulling from the ideas that we would have done that was progressive for us, you need to show its practical application in the modern day, in the current day, and how it would be advantageous for us to continue and practice this system. Because if people don't see that it have a practical application at one point, and where it's beneficial at another point, they're not going to be at liberty to practice it. It's just going to be an idea that we had in the past that was beneficial to those people in the past. So I would say that if you want to introduce people to this idea, you have to show where it's beneficial and where it's applicable in a practical sense. Show me how it's beneficial to people who live in a metropolitan area like New York City, where you have not only the Haitian people, you have people from all manner of different groups of the Black world, and how this system would be applicable to all of these kinds of different people coming forward and trying to integrate themselves within the system. You know, not just on the countryside in Haiti, where the people in Haiti practice it, but where other groups of people mix and mingle, where it's in a metropolitan area, where the environment is completely different. Would this system be applicable at that point? And show me the examples of where it's applicable. You know, and another thing too, when he talks about decentralization, I understand every black man or every man want to be his own. He want to be his own God. He want to have his own kingdom. You know what I mean? He want to be completely decentralized from anyone else. But I feel like it's through organization and it's through institutional structures our communities become stronger and better. You know, every man can't be his own God. You must come up under some institution, some organization. You know, there must be some structure. Even in your home, you have your structure. There's no decentralization in your personal home. You have the man who is usually the head, then you have the woman, and then you have the children. Well, in some houses now, you just have the woman and then have the children. Even within that, that's an institutional structure where someone coming up under somebody else and taking their instruction. You know what I mean? So I think that we need to, I understand we want to decentralize and we want to be free to be self-governing and all this stuff like that. But I think that what makes a community strong as well as organization, systems, and coming up under systems, having to answer in terms of what your personal actions are. Nothing wrong with that. I think that for some reason, since we come out of this idea of slavery, we believe that we don't have to answer to no one. I feel like that makes us weak in some instances. Yes, you are a free thinking human being, an individual, but institutions and organizations, I feel, gets it done. Because this is a lot of people moving at one particular point for one particular reason, and it makes that blow stronger as opposed to just one person doing it. You know, but I have my questions about the system itself. I'm not going to poo-poo it. I just would like to see where it's applicable in the modern day, where you deal with other groups of people and in different environments, and show me where it's beneficial. And I'll you know, I just need more information about the topic, but I'll stop there.
I appreciate that response, though, Buana. You know, wanting more information, there's nothing wrong with that at all. I will say I think the system does live on. I think Black folks tend to, at least at one point or another in recent history, tended to do this kind of thing. Like you mentioned New York. I remember there was a time when one person came up from the Caribbean and moved into a building, and before you know it, they have damn near all their siblings here living in the same building or under the same roof. And the guy in the video made a point to point out that we don't even have those type of systems anymore because everyone kind of lives on their own. Like you said, a lot of Indians, a lot of Africans want to be the chief somewhere else. And but I know that we you know, I know for sure we had a barter system strong. I know, you know, so you know, different things like that I think still carry through. I think the important thing that you said, Buana, is if you're not coming up through an organization, you're gonna have a problem. And most of our people don't come up through an organization. That's why we're so disorganized. These things that they're talking about on the screen here, you know, children being raised by parents, grandparents, etc., self-governing, traditional education, a barter system, like this is just common sense stuff. You know who you could observe this in? Like the Polish people in New York, you will see them doing that, the Chinese, you know, things of that nature. We talked about it last week when we talked about that Israeli/Jewish thing. You know, they have several different educations. They have Holocaust education, they have, you know, religious education, etc. And I don't think that's so difficult to achieve. What's difficult to achieve is getting our people to buy in, I think. I think that's the biggest problem that we have.
It's so difficult, man. I'm sorry. Was Confidence trying to go? Sorry, I don't want to get in. You know, I'm gonna let him rock. Go ahead, Confidence.
No, I wasn't trying to say anything. I'm just listening for the most part.
Yeah, I think that we do need to have buy-in, in terms of alternative education and an alternative methodology of our approach to the so-called Western world. I think that we have one particular view, and that's what's been fed to us. You know what I mean? I think that we need to get a brain on how we approach the Western world in regards to our own benefit. I think that so far in how our approach to the Western world has been completely to serve the Western world, not necessarily looking at it as to what we can extract from the Western world for our own personal interest. I think that question needs to be, and when you ask them kinds of questions, what comes out of that is, okay, so if we want to extract a particular thing out of whatever the Western world has to offer us, what would that be, first of all, and how do we go about, what would be our approach to it? Because our methodology and approach to the Western world so far has been go to school, get a quote unquote good education, and get a good job. Participate in their system, and then work 30 years and eventually pass on. And I think that has not been the most advantageous for our community. I think that how we perceive the Western world and our approach should be a little bit different. And I think that we should have an alternative methodology. And if it's the LAKOU system or any other system that would teach us an alternative approach, you know, when immigrants like ourselves come to the Western world, the so-called first world, our approach to the system is twofold. We get the so-called formal education, but we still have our immigrant families telling us about how to move in the world. Yeah, we get two kind of methodologies and approaches to the world, and it makes us look at the world a little bit differently, just like any other immigrant coming into the country. And we take that money or resources and we send it back. Well, some of us send it back for whatever reasons. For whatever reasons. So I think that if that money or our approach to the world stays, if we stay in the so-called first world, what do we do there? Alternatively from what everyone else is doing. You know, because this is how other communities, I find, have become very successful in the so-called first world, whether it's the Jews, whether it's the Italians. The Jews had their own communities, their own alternative education and information. The Italians had their own information within the greater society, all these other communities. So what is our system? What is our approach alternatively to what's being offered to us and how we should move in the so-called Western first world? But I'll leave it there.
Conference, you want to add any last thoughts here?
Sorry, I'm having issues turning my mic on and off, but I think like I'm actually like an administrator of a group called LAKOU Jacksonville. So I guess it means it's basically a way. Basically, in Jacksonville, people are trying to organize themselves or use the online forum as a way to network. But that's just like their word for networking. Even if they're not using the LOA, they use LAKOU in common USA to say like this is our Haitian network, a local Haitian network. I've seen an Indiana LAKOU forum. I'm in a Jacksonville one, so that's how they use it in modern times. So they're like a Haitian association or an informal network. But bringing it forward, like the way I see it, if we could get a program down there, you know, it's basically like the Royal Courtyard or the African Courtyard system. They do projects. I think I'd like to see it in Grenada, you know, with the Maurice Bishop try to do the same thing, basically. The villages and the system they got down there with Ujamaa. It's basically the same project. On New York, you know, it's more. New York is it's a metropolitan area, but you got so much international politics, where I don't know, I don't know if you could just straightforward lump everyone black into one group and say that this system's going to work for everybody. You know, yeah, I kind of have to check in with where these people come from in Africa, the Caribbean. It's the long, extensive work. Kind of, I think you have to start where people come from, or where they're coming from, in the land base, and make sure that they can work with the people back home, rather than try to make, like, you know, say New York or this place in USA is a testing ground. In my experience, you have to check in with the people in those the countries of origin, and try to build a link with them and programs with them, and use that as leverage. Like, your people are doing this back home, it works for them. How are we going to work it back here? Or you can't say, you know, because it's not working in New York, you don't throw it away, because some people have ulterior motives, especially when they come over here. A lot of people are politicians. They don't want to see, you know, they not only want to, they'll hand a bag of rice to the people and get elected and eat all the money. They don't really have any programs or good interest a lot of time for people back home. So it's tricky when you try to say, you know, African system doesn't work because it doesn't work in the USA or abroad. So I think that's my statement on that.
Confidence, a big population outside of New York City, but in terms of Haitian population, check Boston as well. Boston have a big Haitian community. You know what I mean? So if you wanted to get that system started, you know, remember to look into Boston as well. They have a large Haitian community.
Oh, I'm actually looking at Miami because it has a Caribbean community. Like, the word LAKOU, you could treat it as a word association or mutual aid association. So I'm looking at, like I mentioned, I just found this out today. Miami has over 100 consul generals, basically a consulate, like the guy was talking about, where you could walk into an office and have physical contact with people. Miami basically has 100 of those. Not all black countries, but if you have a program, like I'm looking at stock market, real estate, security, but where I'm from, we have like local security. I think it's kind of revolutionary that to have local self-community policing. We kind of have that in Nigeria or Igbo land. So I'm looking at connecting those communities. But my thing is, like, if I connect directly to the island, then I think that cuts out a lot of the politics. It's more like, what can you contribute to what we have going on ground? But because I'm from Nigeria, I contact people from Nigeria and Igbo land in my tribe, and they give me the same runaround, the politics, where they don't connect you with anybody. They got their own agendas going on, where they don't. A lot of times, people don't even want to start projects because it's like, what am I going to get out of it? How's it going to affect my career? That's very common. And then do I trust you? Do I know you? What have you done? So I feel, yeah, if you go to the home base, you know, people all around the world are going to look at what's going on in their homeland. So my thing is more getting something tangible where I'm at and on ground. Like, we have people who actually travel from Jacksonville to Haiti, like the American veterans of Igbo descent. So these are like people from Igbo land. They travel to Haiti on occasion. But there's a couple missions like that. So it's not
confidence.
hard.
If you can, could you?
A lot of politics.
If you can, could you put your website or email? Could you put that in the back chat for me, please, when you have time?
I'll put my email, but I'm actually, it's not official yet, but now I'm acting secretary for the UNIA ACL Jacksonville. Like the vice president from Atlanta moved to Jacksonville, so it kind of gives us more experience in organizing and more. So we're going to try and start something in Jacksonville and move down south. So things change. Yeah, I'll put my email there.
Yeah, no worries, brother. I'll contact you.
All right. And the brother the Atlanta president, his name is John Hargrove for the replay. The brother's name is John Hargrove. The brother James Wilson, he's an author. He was just on this this YouTube channel. I forget what it's called. So you thought you knew TV or something. This big channel. Umar has been on it. I think Muda Baraka. But things are expanding. The UNIA was more like it was actually started off like a connect the black segregated communities, the Caribbean islands and African villages and kingdoms all together. It started off like a royal tribal connection, but now a lot of people think it's more Feed the Children, Black Panthers, but it was supposed to expand into things like this, like work with Haiti, which was invaded at the time. So they moved to Ethiopia, and then they got the Rasta movement. But in alternative history, we would have been studying the LAKOU system, but it literally was invaded at the time. So you could say we're 100 years behind. But this was like the original goal to study these systems. So I'll rest my mic.
Yeah, I'll make sure I do some more research on it. Like I said, I never heard about it before, but I'll try to do some more research on it. So when I speak on it, I could be speaking from a position of an informed person. Let me put it like that,
In the chat, Marcus McGee says, "What's up, everybody?" Also, what's up to Marcus McGee. Real Black Gentleman said that the stream wasn't working right. I'm looking at the number of eyes on us, and it doesn't make sense. It seems like the stream might be getting tampered with. Lero's out there saying, "Peace, loved ones." Daily Affirmation by Pauline says, "Good evening." Trigger Happy mentions that Fury won that fight, I guess. I didn't catch it. If you can hear my voice out in the chat, I just want to see something. Drop a 2 if you can hear my voice, if you can see the screen and hear all the other panelists tonight. Drop a 2 for me. I want to see how many people are really out there. So do that for me. If there's no other last thoughts on that problem, let's go to Shoot the Breeze, topic number 2 then.